Hello everyone, I'm Lumen. So Clavicular got his ass beat. Well, I don't even know if beat is the right word, it wasn't much of a fight. He mostly just sort of got grabbed, dragged onto the ground and held there by some random balding middle-aged guy who kept yelling that he was making a citizen's arrest. And this is Clavicular we're talking about. You know, the looks maxing guy, the guy who spends every waking moment talking about ascending, getting huge, improving his bone structure and mugging people. And then some completely normal looking 40-year-old just grabs him and puts him on the floor. And somehow that's not even the most embarrassing thing. The most embarrassing thing is that he had an entire group of guys around him and most of them just stood there just watching. And so here we have the main clip going around by a guy named Drago, who was actually the only guy that actually tried helping him. He captioned the video, "Citizens arrest my ass." So let's see what it's all about.
You're under citizen arrest. You're under citizen arrest. You're under citizen arrest.
Like he's not even trying to fight back.
Yo, you good?
You can't just citizen. Tú no puedes hacer un citizen arrest de esa manera. Hermano.
Well, okay, at least Drago is doing something.
No puedes hacer un citizen arrest de esa manera. ¿Qué estás haciendo? Quítate de ahí.
No, quítate tú.
No, que se quite él. Me está acosando. O sea, eres un influencer del Estado.
You know what, let's just skip around a bit. This is just the same thing for 4 minutes. Oh, and here are the cops.
Officer, help.
Cop is just chilling. Okay, that's enough. That's pretty much the whole video. And I know it's easy to sit here watching the clip and just say what everyone should have done, but come on, man. There are like 6 or 7 people just sitting around and Clavicular is completely stuck below this guy. You're telling me he couldn't have at least wiggled a little or something? Or kicked the guy, I don't know. And so obviously the replies have been absolutely cooking him. Cooking this man alive. This post says, all that looks maxing to get his ass beat by a balding, average build white dude. I'm not sure what being white has to do with anything, but sure. And you know, if this was just some random person, I would say people are being kind of dicks to a guy who just got beat up. But Clavicular is kind of a special case, he kind of did this to himself. His entire persona is built around being peak male performance. Better face, better body, better genetics, more masculine, more dominant. So when a completely normal looking guy puts him on the pavement and he can't get up, people are gonna laugh, including me. Now for anyone who doesn't know who Clavicular even is, his real name is Barden Peters, and he's basically become the face of looks maxing. He's a guy who will do absolutely anything to look physically better. He got famous for bone smashing, where you literally hit yourself in the face with a hammer because you think damaging the bone will somehow make it grow back into a more attractive shape. He does peptides, steroids, surgeries, facial measurements, the jawline hammer thing, just like all the things. And I mean, clearly it worked in some sense, he became pretty famous, and he doesn't look bad or anything. And you know, he lives the Miami influencer lifestyle where there's always a bunch of cameras around and a bunch of parties and shit. Personally, I would hate to live that kind of life, but hey man, if that's the kind of shit he likes, then good for him. The problem is that the look maxing stuff has almost become the least interesting thing about him, because this man is now involved in some new disaster every other week. And so by now you might be wondering what actually started this particular disaster. Well, we don't really know yet. The posts going around say Clavicular and his group were at a club in Miami, something happened inside and then the confrontation eventually moved into a parking lot. Some people say Clav slapped somebody, other posts just describe it as some sort of fight. I haven't seen a full video showing the entire beginning, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know exactly what happened, but at some point this older guy decides that he's going to detain Clavicular himself. He takes him down and keeps announcing that he's making a citizen's arrest, as though saying it enough times makes him a cop. And that's the section we already saw. Clavicular is on the ground, the guy refuses to release him, Drago tries to pull him off, everyone yells at each other and the rest of the crew just sort of wanders around without doing much of anything. And honestly, I think the crew looks worse than Clavicular does here, because once someone has already pinned you down, especially if they have an arm around your neck, it might not be that easy to escape. But what the hell was everyone else's excuse? One guy is filming, one guy is hopping around like a monkey, people walk forward, walk backwards, yell get off of him and then do absolutely nothing to get him off of him. These are all the same sort of guys who constantly talk about loyalty, brotherhood, and the boys, but then the second something actually happens, everyone just backs off. This is why having 20 people around you doesn't mean that you have 20 friends, they just want to get some of that clout. Drago is really the only one who came out of this looking remotely respectable. He actually got involved, he tried to pull the guy off, kept going back in, and then afterwards he's the one who uploaded the full video. Clavicular called him a legend, and compared to the rest of the guys, yeah, he kinda was. Not because he handled the situation perfectly or anything, but at least he committed to doing something. Everyone else seemed terrified to make a decision. They wanted to help, but apparently not enough to actually touch anybody. They wanted the guy to release Clavicular, but they also wanted to maintain a comfortable viewing distance while he did it. Drago at least was in there. He was in the trenches. Now, the whole citizen's arrest thing does make the situation legally messy because no, you can't just grab someone, yell citizen's arrest, and now everything you do is automatically legal. Florida has very limited situations where a private person can detain somebody, but what happened beforehand matters, what they actually witnessed matters, and how much force they used matters. So if Clavicular had just attacked somebody and this guy was stopping him from continuing, then he has an argument. But if the fight had already ended and he decided to keep Clavicular pinned down with an arm around his neck, then that's a different situation. We just don't have enough of the beginning to say for sure. Apparently Clavicular was briefly detained when the police arrived, but there was no confirmed arrest or criminal charge from this parking lot incident as of the recording of this video. So legally, maybe nothing comes from this. But in the eyes of the internet, he has already been sentenced to unbelievable amounts of aura loss. And this is why every repost is doing numbers. People are comparing the bald guy to a hidden final boss. They're calling him skull maxing Shad, saying Clav got mugged by a Home Depot employee. And what really sells it is how normal the guy looks. He doesn't look like a fighter, he doesn't look huge, and god, he doesn't look athletic. He just looks like a guy who would get angry because you parked too close to his truck, and yet somehow he's the one walking around with the looks maxing king trapped underneath him. And the funny thing is that this isn't even the craziest situation Clavicular has been involved in, like not even close. Because back on Christmas Eve, Clavicular went viral after apparently running over a guy with his Cybertruck. And I know that sentence already sounds insane, but just watch this. Yikes. Now, Clavicular said that the guy was a stalker who had been harassing him and had thrown some kind of liquid at him, and supposedly he believed people surrounding the vehicle might have been armed, so the police ultimately didn't charge him. And I'm not saying he just randomly decided to run over an innocent person, because you can see in the video that the dude is getting in the way or something. It doesn't look good either way. But believe it or not, this is just the start for Clavicular. This was back in December 2025 and he was not criminally charged. But then a few months later, he got arrested in Florida over another completely separate situation. According to the police, Clavicular allegedly helped provoke and arrange a fight involving his girlfriend and another woman at a rental property. He filmed it and then posted the footage online. And so you can see how his life always has to be content. It's not enough for two people to have an argument, there has to be a camera and somebody has to post it afterwards. He was arrested on battery-related warrants, posted bond, and then immediately went back online. And the looks maxing community, of course, started calling the mugshot jail maxing, because there is apparently no human experience that cannot have maxing placed at the end of it. Authorities alleged that he helped instigate and record the February fight, and he was arrested in March. And somehow, on basically the same day that arrest story was developing, there was also an alligator situation, because of course there was an alligator situation.
Sure.
Jesus, how many times are you gonna shoot it?
Yo! Hey, I think it's dead. Oh shit.
I can't hear shit.
What do you mean? Yeah, it's definitely dead.
Now, his attorney later said that the alligator was already dead and that they were following instructions from an airboat operator. So no, he was not accused of hunting down and murdering a living alligator for content. He was instead charged for firing a gun in a public area, pleaded no contest, and ended up with probation, community service, and firearm safety requirements. Again, just think of the sequence of events here. You became famous for hitting yourself in the face with a hammer, then you run a man over with a Cybertruck, then you got arrested over a live stream fight, then you shot a dead alligator dozens of times, and we're not even done. Because in April, Clavicular suddenly collapsed during a live stream in Miami and had to be carried out and taken to a hospital. At the time, everybody reported it as a suspected overdose. People around him were talking about pills, the stream abruptly ended, and then the whole thing looked genuinely horrible. Clavicular later disputed that it was technically not an overdose. He said he had overused stimulants and had been drinking without eating, and that the reports made it sound different from what had actually happened. So I'm not going to say he overdosed because he said he didn't, but either way it doesn't really matter because he collapsed on stream and ended up in a hospital. And then because this is Clavicular, he apparently went back clubbing the next night. Doctors tell most people to rest, drink water and take it easy. Clavicular hears that and thinks, okay, but what if I immediately go club maxing? So by the time we arrive at this newest parking lot fight, this isn't really a story about a looks maxer having a bad night anymore. This guy went from giving people insane advice about jawlines and facial ratios to living inside a constant loop of arrests, hospital visits, fights, weapons, cars, clubs, and livestream disasters, which, if I put it like that, he kinda sounds like a rockstar, which I suppose kind of explains his popularity. And now we come back to the thing people are roasting him for. This guy here says, Clavicular got manhandled by a fat middle-aged bald man and didn't even fight back. All those steroids for nothing. I wouldn't say the steroids were for nothing, I assume they were mostly to make him look better, and he at least looks stronger, so... But yeah, if your entire brand is being this shad looks maxer, this is not exactly ideal advertising. And I think a lot of people genuinely believe that if you go to the gym, it automatically means you are good in a fight, and no, that's not how it works. You'll be stronger than you were before, which obviously helps, but muscles don't download wrestling knowledge into your brain. You still need to know how to fight. You can't just inject another peptide and suddenly know how to escape when someone has pinned you in the ground. Clavicular spent all this time building the appearance of someone who can handle himself, but then he apparently spent no time actually learning how to handle himself. And you know, I do think there is a point here about the whole lifestyle he promotes. Looks maxing itself is not completely useless, a lot of people like to shit on it, but you know, there's actually some good to it. Obviously, looking better helps a lot in all aspects of life. Getting into shape, dressing better, fixing your hair, taking care of your skin, losing weight, all of that is great and can improve your life a lot, like genuinely. Just maybe don't obsess over it, because at the end of the day, there will always be someone that's more looks maxed than you. So yeah, in summary, the looks maxing king got choked maxed by a balding middle-aged guy in a Miami parking lot while most of his friends stood around watching and did nothing. We still don't really know what exactly happened, so I'm not going to say whether the citizen's arrest was definitely justified or whether Clavicular was completely innocent, but I suppose we'll know if more footage comes out. Lesson of the story, trying to look better, but maybe throw some wrestling classes in the mix. That way next time a balding middle-aged fat guy tries pinning you to the ground, you won't just take it. Anyways, if you liked the video, please give me a like and subscribe. This is a very small channel and just liking the video and subscribing does way more than you can imagine. Thank you for watching this far and have a nice day.